Welcome to the ever exciting world of sports right here on Atlantic TV. It's Beyond the Score, and I still remain Michael Gobadia. Well, you do know on Beyond the Score, we talk about anything that concerns the ever exciting world of sport, and today will be no different because we'll be giving you updates as it concerns the WAFCON tournament that is being held in Morocco. And not only that, well, Nigeria did another as it concerns the Commonwealth Games, as much as we'll also be having some latest and beautiful news as it concerns the transfer market. But you do know he'll be giving us all the juicy gist, and I'm talking of no other person but our very own, all the way from Rabat, Morocco, and we're talking of no other person but Mr. Richard Wanji. Well, Richard, it has been an exciting weekend as it concerns the world of sport and as it concerns Nigeria. Anyway, let's understand the atmosphere there in Rabat, Morocco. We do know we are still in the group stage, and the final stage it is. And all that concerns football is really taking center stage on the continent at the moment. So just give us a feel of what's happening there and why Nigerians should be at least having that hope that when it comes to the WAFCON, we might also be pushing forward to see how we can get it the 12th time. All the same, Richard, how are you doing?
I'm fine. Good afternoon, Michael. Reaching you live here from Rabat, Morocco. As you can see right here through my left hand side, we are the beach side. This is the Atlantic or the coastal area. From this particular side, you just go in and you'll be in Portugal in like an hour from this particular location where I am right now. Of course, I'm very close to the big sea, or so we call it an ocean, that leads to Europe, close to Portugal. If you remember what happened a few days ago from Morocco, where we had a lot of people, moving in into Spain, and one of those big, seas where we have several people, moving to Europe. All right, I'm talking about sports, talking about the WAFCON. It has been very, very interesting. The sport focus of Nigeria, getting things right, and for many people, they got things right against winning their game against Zambia, 10 women down. They were 10 in the field after Tosin got the red card. Tosin got the red card in the 30 minutes of that game. We saw the Spartacus blow through and were able to make sure they kept the score sheet at just one goal in that very, very interesting game. For many of us, that was a great game for the Super Falcons of Nigeria, keeping the hopes alive, keeping the chance to remain in the Women's African Cup of Nations and see how they can win for the 11th time. And so, no matter what happened, with the red card and everything, we are happy. But the whole big story will be what will play out in their Group C, where we have Malawi already. Malawi topping the group with 6 points. Nigeria have 3 points. Zambia have 3 points. Egypt are officially out of the women's tournament. But the great major talking point is around the fact that in that particular Super Falcons group, where we have Nigeria, none of the teams have officially qualified for the women's tournament that is in the quarterfinal stage. As it stands right now, Malawi still has to do the last job on the last day. The Super Falcons of Nigeria, that is Nigeria themselves, have to also do their work on the last day and also hope that they don't get a 3-2 result favoring Zambia from the game between Zambia and Malawi. Now that'll be a very interesting game because it's two countries from the Southern Africa that was from South Africa playing that game. That's Malawi and Malawi and Zambia were playing that game in the last group stage match. But it's a very interesting game so far. For many Nigerians, we are super excited. Hopes are alive. The South Africans can still go well. They can still go find the tournament. I spoke to the coach after the game, on about 2 days ago during the press conference, and I asked him the fact that many of his critics have criticized him that he does not have tactics. But with what we saw after 90 minutes in that particular game that happened here in Rabat, many of us are really, really happy. I know, speaking of the fact that yes, this particular coach has a bit of tactics that can take the team far. Now, beyond this, don't forget that this particular WAFCON stands as a qualification for the World Cup. So to get the World Cup in Brazil next year, the Super Falcons of Nigeria must do well to finish among the top 4 teams. And that means they must qualify for the quarterfinals. From there, they then go and see how they can get to the semifinals. Then maybe quarterfinals, semifinals. Then you're qualified for the World Cup. Then maybe to win the tournament. So I think it's step by step right now. Look for how you can qualify for the for the quarterfinals. By doing your homework against Egypt, defeat Egypt convincingly, and hope that a 3-2 result, that is an important factor. A 3-2 result does not take place between Zambia and Malawi. Don't forget that those will play, in about 2 days time. But they have a training section later on this evening, which of course I'll be covering that training session for Atlantic TV. But for me, it has been a training tournament so far. We saw Ghana yesterday losing their game. Ghana's game was one big shocker that many expect Ghana to do well. Now don't forget that if Ghana finishes top of their group and Nigeria finishes second, we will have a Ghana and Nigeria clash in the quarterfinals. So there are different talking points around the women's tournament, but so far it's interesting. We are enjoying ourselves right here about Morocco, and the question will be if the Super Falcons of Nigeria can be able to win the 11th title in Morocco. But as I said earlier, the major talking points will be how can they first of all qualify for the World Cup, and that means they must get to the quarterfinals and qualify for the semi-finals, and they'll be able to get the 4 spots that is reserved for African teams.
Okay, well, nice giving us that update as it concerns the WAFCON. And our only hope is just let's see how we can do well against Egypt to give us that push first in the group stage, and see how Malawi and definitely Zambia seems to have played, or what they will play to give us what we will need. Just like what you said, the 3-2 score line might be what we'll play around. But talking about that, let's leave that and let's go to another major one that happened during the weekend, and is the issue of the Commonwealth Games that was indeed concluded. Nigeria finished 7th on the medal table, but this is not our best outing. I could still remember in 2022, we attained that same feat, but we had about 35 medals, with 12 being gold, 9 silver, and the rest being bronze. So would you say we finished well as it concerns the Commonwealth Games this year? And in your own take, what really were we really lacking as it concerns trying to do better than we did in 2022?
I think finishing 7th, on the table, we had Australia topping the medal table with 171, medals. We had England having 110 medals, Canada having 62 medals, in total. India having a total of 39 medals, and Scotland 5th with a total of 39 medals. We have New Zealand 10 medals with 10 gold, and we have Nigeria with 10 gold, and finishing with 24 medals in total. Now, as I said, I will agree with you. Not the best we expected from them. What so many people try to pick solace in is the fact that maybe the team Nigeria did well in terms of comparing them with other African teams that were African nations that were in the Commonwealth Games. But beyond everything, one of the most talking points around talk about when it comes to athletics in Nigeria is the poor funding. The fact that most times when it comes to big tournaments like this, our team Nigeria contingent have to train few days or few weeks before the tournament. And most times we don't camp these people, we don't build them up to make sure they do well, and maybe when they get to the tournament there, they can be able to come, so they can be able to win the medal. So that has always been a major talking point around the poor finances. Yesterday I was talking to somebody, in Lorry, and he said something very, very clear that he can tell us that some of these athletes, after the tournament like this, they go back to their normal businesses, no training section because they don't get paid and everything. And sometimes we now start depending on those internationally or those internationally based contingents to come and represent Nigeria. Now the question is, what are we doing to make sure that athletics, or make sure that we have a great sporting, great let's call it a competition, when we do well in competition, when our facts are not up to date, when we don't prioritize the welfare of, talk about our athletes. So these are major talking points around how when we go out to international tournaments or international competitions, why we don't have our athletes doing very well. But some will say 7, maybe it's better. Some will say maybe we can do better, but we can still do better. But let's agree that in Nigeria right now, athletics, or whatever we want to call it, I want to group all those, all those games under, is still underdeveloped, or in the last 10 years government have not really financed them. Now I think beyond criticizing Nigeria's performance, we should also look for a way to highlight the good things that the sports commission did, in between call it the Commonwealth Games, where we saw a situation whereby they were able to give, they promised to give some cash if you win a medal. Now they were able to make sure that those cash were given as soon as you won your medal. You receive your cash in dollars, $2,000 $3K, depending on what they promise. So that is a good part. That the Team Nigerian members, some of them were got cash prizes based on the promises. Now, some also talk about in short put. Chuka Ebuka is one of those people many people have spoken about, doing so well to also win the gold medal. That is one of the positive sides we can pick out of call it the Commonwealth Games. We also talk about Toby Amusan, what she did winning the bronze medal. So I think we can still do better. There is still hope for us to improve on what we are doing already. But let's wait and see what happens. I would say the big one is Olympics. I think the Commonwealth is just a training stage for the Olympics because on most cases we do so well in the Commonwealth Games. When it gets to the Olympics, we will see our team struggling. But I should also mention and give a special shout out to our para contingent in Team Nigeria. Now they have always proved themselves well in tournaments, winning the medals. During the Olympics, we see our team Nigeria struggle to win medals. But during when we have the Paralympics, we see Team Nigeria winning medals. And I also see that with Commonwealth Games, we have our members of our Team Nigeria doing so well. So for me and many people would agree that yes, they are doing so well, but we still need to improve. As I said earlier, the Olympic is a big stage. How can we be able to now win medals in the Olympic? During the Olympic, we find Nigeria struggling to even get a bronze medal. During the Olympic stage, when we get a bronze medal, we are always celebrating. And the biggest stage in the Olympic is when your national anthem is being played and you're on the podium. So these are different talking points that we can take from the Commonwealth Games. But I think it's the right step. Let's be on it. When the Olympic comes in USA, we can now be able to see how we can be able to, do well and win medals. But most importantly, the federal government, state government, also private investors must invest in sports in the country. We must get these talents young, make sure they have facilities to training, and make sure that when we are in for those big tournaments, they can be able to prove themselves well. If we can put that in place, I bet you Nigeria will not only win medals during the Commonwealth Games, Nigeria will also be able to win medals during the Olympics.
Thank you so much, Richard, because everybody's thought is like towards the Olympics, undermining we know India will be the next host of the Commonwealth Games. But let's leave that alone and look at what seems to be happening in the transfer market as it stands now. It looks as if the English side is making a whole lot. And we're talking about no other but the Blues. And we're talking about Chelsea. We've had high-profile persons being bought. And many are asking, will Arsenal also not take the lead, knowing that they are the champions as it stands? And many are a bit disappointed. They've not gone to the transfer market very soon. And will that in any way hamper their chances come next season? But all the same, give us all those latest juice as it concerns the transfer market, and let's know who is moving where and how much, if being stated, they are leaving their present clubs.
I talking about transfer, very, very Michael. What we have been saying, I'm talking also as you mentioned, Chelsea fans expected their team would buy several players, and they haven't beat the market. They're trying to get to the gold Rogers coming them, still looking how they can still get one or two players. So I've decided for getting players that look maybe old, they're not still young. Discussing with players that are old, not the young players coming. But I think I should talk about Chelsea and Chelsea's fact. I think that the fact that Chelsea are still looking for a way to they build things for themselves as a club. Now Chelsea over the last 10 years have gone into what we call the business. Last 4 to 3 years. Last 4 to 3 years. Since when the Russia-Ukraine war started and we had a switch in the ownership of Chelsea, they had moved from what we call the trophy winning team to the business winning team, where we have seen Chelsea giving players 10 years contract, 9 years contract, 8 years contract, and they were not really keen on winning trophies. But I think many Chelsea fans would agree that with what they have seen in the transfer window so far, Chelsea are looking like a team that are not just ready to compete, but to win trophies. And many of Chelsea fans will be excited to say, okay, let's see how it would go. Now, don't forget, Chelsea has a new coach. Now, with a new coach, many are expecting so much from the new man that will be in the box, and to see how the man can be able to take Chelsea to the next level. Also good is for Chelsea, one of the fastest players when it comes to football in the world, Modric, who was banned due to drug issues, is now back. I know he got back. He's back, and of course he arrived just a few minutes ago. He arrived at Stamford Bridge, and it's a great one for all Chelsea fans because they want to have options. If you want to do well as a team, you must have options. But don't forget that Chelsea in this particular season would have time. time to concentrate because they will not be playing in the big league, so they will have time to focus on doing well in the EPL. But how far can they go? That will be the big question. That question cannot be answered right now. That question will be answered once the league starts, whether we can know whether Chelsea can beat that team that can compete, do well, and maybe just win a trophy. Maybe just win a trophy. But I think Chelsea fans should also take down their expectations. They should not be so excited. Oh, we want to win this, we want to win that. Calm down. Let the season start. Then we can now see what will happen around there. I'm talking about Arsenal. Arsenal fans have expected their team to get this big deal. Now that big deal has been Vinicius Junior. Now Vinicius Junior has been on the lips of every Arsenal fan in the last 1 week. The fact that Vinicius Junior was that man, many spoke around the fact that they were going to get him, and the reports were everywhere. Vinicius is moving from Real Madrid to Arsenal. They don't sign a new deal. It was everywhere. Now reports reaching me this morning that the man called Vinicius Junior has reported back at the camp of in the Real Madrid, in his camp at Real Madrid, which definitely is now putting things at the other side. So for many of us, it's very, very interesting to see what is happening around the transfer window. For Man United, Talisman to Manu is a big move. The Manu's midfield is now looking so strong to compete and see how they can be able to win the league. For Real Madrid has a new boss. We're having the preseason matches going through, and we can see what's happening at preseason matches. Many people they forget preseason matches just cannot test, cannot show how strong your team is. But I always tell people, I said the preseason matches also gives you a hint about what you would see when the main season starts. And so we cannot also just write off some teams also too that did not do well during preseason matches. But let's wait and see. But I think what we are seeing so far in the transfer window, maybe it's too early, but we could see that Chelsea seems to be the team. They are ready to get the season on. But not forgetting the important point that this particular season is a season of new coaches being in charge of the club. Now, don't forget, we have a City coming with a new coach. Liverpool will be bringing a new coach in also too. We have Arteta will be the oldest among the big boys, and also forgetting Man U is with a carry that also got confirmed some few months ago. So it's going to be new coaches that will try new experiments, new football patterns. I can tell you, Michael, it will be very, very difficult to predict who will win the league this particular season. But let's wait and see what happens around the EPL.
Well, anyway, it will be really exciting to wait and see. But I doubt if the Gunners fans are indeed happy about that waiting. But anyway, as much as we've said that, and indeed, we're talking still beyond the sport, we definitely would, because of time, and need to go. But before we do, what should we be expecting come tomorrow as it concerns the ever exciting world of sport, Richard?
All right, from here in the WAFCON, definitely we'll be talking about the final stages of call it the groups matches where we have different countries playing the final stage. Also, we'll talk about what will be happening around some preseason matches. Don't forget that it's preseason period, so different clubs in Europe are having their preseason matches, and of course, tomorrow on the show we'll also follow up on all those preseason matches. We'll talk about the WAFCON and try to build things up and follow up as it's happening around the Super Falcons of Nigeria, which will be having their training later on today in Asfa here in Rabat, which of course I will be there to cover that particular training section. Of course, over to you, Michael. Over to you guys in Wally.
Anyway, so much thanks to you, Richard, and indeed joining us all the way from Rabat, Morocco. You do know it's beyond the score, and definitely you'll be giving us all those juicy updates. But all the same, enjoy yourself, but please leave the shores of that very place. I'm a bit scared about when it comes to water.
Look at it's like this is the coastal road. This is the coastal, not coastal road, not coastal road. This is the sea. Right from here, if you could look where you could see we have some boats and ships here, and very, very close to Portugal. And so as someone was saying that if we have Nigerians living along this area, they will look for a way to cross through. But I also tell you that we had Moroccans who crossed into Spain some few days ago. But this is one of those major call it we have high seas that we have in call it in Morocco, where we have several people coming to relax and enjoy themselves and see the beauty in nature. I tell you, Morocco is a very beautiful place. Morocco stands in between Africa and Europe and also Asia.
So much, Richard. We know you will not be crossing the sea anytime soon. But anyway, definitely we'll be seeing you more as you give us more lovely sporting update come tomorrow. But anyway, that's the much we can do right here on Beyond the Score. It's always interesting to make you be a part of it, and we'll be definitely doing that come tomorrow. So don't go anywhere. Just remain with us because I always tell you, keep up that smile on your face because when it comes to sports, it's always so exciting. I remain Michael Gobadia. God bless you. Have a great day.